When you enroll in a workplace pension, you probably don't question where your money goes. You just know it goes somewhere safe and it's called a pension. And you know you can't touch it until you retire in your late 60s. But what if I told you that you can touch your pension? Well, kind of. In this video, I'm going to tell you why you should be enrolled in a pension scheme, how you can change where your money is, and how this can greatly affect your retirement, either by giving you more money in retirement or by allowing you to retire earlier. I'm not a qualified financial or pension advisor. This is just my opinion. All of the resources I have used in this video will be down in the description. So in preparation for this video, I asked a handful of people a few questions. Have you logged into your pension account in the last year? Do you know how much is in your pension pot? Or do you even know where your pension is? Well, their answers were kind of scary, but I only spoke to a handful of people, so this isn't very scientific. About 15% of people had logged into their account in the last year. About 10% of people knew roughly how much they had in their pension pot. And this is the scary one. About 20% of people didn't even know where their pension was. I did follow up with these people, and they said that the main reason was because they had multiple pension pots, and some of it was split into different areas, and they weren't 100% sure where some of this pension actually was. It's been said that people only look at their pension twice. Once when they first set it up, and the second time is when they want to retire. But they do not consider their pension at any time in the middle of that. But this video, I hope, will reach someone who needs that help, or just the push to go and look at their pension to take control of their retirement. When you do enroll in a workplace pension, the government states that 8% of your gross salary should be contributed to your pension, based on your earnings between £6,240 and £50,270 a year before tax. Your employer has a minimum contribution requirement of 3%. The 5% remaining is split between 4% of your own contribution, and the 1% is a tax relief from the government. So this means that only 4% will be taken from your salary. So an example would be if you were on a £30,000 salary, 23,760 of this qualifies. Your contribution every month would be £99, which is split into £79.20 deducted from your salary, and £19.80 in tax relief. Your employer contributes £59.40, so your total contribution every month would be £158.40. This means that you're getting a 4% pay rise just by enrolling in your workplace pension. You do pay out 4% of your gross salary every month, but you will be gaining 4% in return. When you do put money into your pension, your money goes into the base pension pot, created by your pension provider. This is usually a very safe investment. It will track many different things, like the whole world stock market, bonds, and even assets like property, so that when you put money into your pension, it tracks the performance or value of all of these assets. Your basic pension pot will split the funds over the range of those assets to diversify the portfolio, meaning that when something performs badly, your pension pot doesn't lose all of its value. For example, if the stock market is on a downturn, your pension pot will not be wholly affected by this, as the other asset classes will still be holding their value. This also works in the other direction. When the stock market is performing really well, it will also not see the full effects of this. But what does happen over a long period of time is that the price of all of those assets goes up. On average, only about 4% of real return per year. But for many, this is enough to see their pension grow to a healthy amount by the time they retire. You do have a choice to change where your pension allocates your money. Most pension providers will have multiple options on how you can manage your own pension, meaning that you have a few different options based on the level of risk that you're willing to take. The levels of risk in pension funds are usually split into 3 categories: high, medium, and low. A high-risk fund is for a younger person with a long time horizon, anywhere from when you first enter the workplace up to 10 years before you wish to retire. The normal asset split for a high-risk investment fund will be 60 to 70% in the stock market or equities, around 10% in the following: bonds, debt, and property. Then they have smaller holdings in commodities, things like oil, gas, and gold. A medium-risk fund is the base pension fund or retirement fund. This is for most people, those of you who really have no interest on making the most out of your pension. It's the fund that you'll be put into when you first enroll in your workplace pension, usually a fund with good diversification. The normal asset split for a base pension fund is around 40 to 50% in the stock market, and other small holdings in areas like bonds, debt, property, commodities, and many other things. A low-risk fund is for people close to their retirement age. Those of you who are thinking about retiring in the very near future, and you need the assets to stay at a very stable level. The normal asset split for the low-risk fund is 100% in bonds. This will have the lowest volatility of any of the funds, and will do better when interest rates are higher, like they are right now. Bonds are very safe assets as they are backed by the government, and track the current central bank interest rate. These low-risk funds usually provide no increase in asset value after taking out the pension provider's fee. These are great for people nearing retirement as they won't fluctuate in value as much as the other funds. There are other options, such as the ethical fund, which has the environment in mind and picks their asset classes based on ethics, and the Sharia fund, which is for Muslim investors, and the investments are screened by Islamic scholars to meet Sharia standards. Some pension providers will allow you to split your pension pot into multiple segments, meaning that you can have some of your money in higher risk assets and some of it in medium risk assets. But this is not necessary and it's not available from all pension providers. Something to remember is that if you're between the age of 16 and 21, you will not be auto-enrolled into the pension scheme. So you'll have to request this from your employer to be enrolled. The earlier you start investing, the higher likelihood you have of better returns. The average return of a higher risk fund is somewhere around 9% per year over the period of your pension being in that fund. Well, the volatility is quite high, as it will usually have a high proportion of the pension invested in the stock market and a less diversified range of assets. Now, comparing this to the standard retirement fund, you would see an average of a 7% return per year. When looking at the difference between the two over a 40-year time period, and with only £1,000 invested with no extra contributions, a 7% return would give you a pot of just under £15,000, and with a 9% return over the same 40-year period, you would have a pot of £31,000. This is a significant difference. With a 7% return, you would have yielded a 1,400% return over that 40 years. But with a 9% return, you would have returned 3,000%. Now, looking at an example of someone who is paid £30,000 a year and who contributes to the pension over a 40-year time period, on the standard retirement fund, your pot would look something like £230,000 after taking out the long-term effect of inflation. This comes to 4% return a year. But on the high-risk fund, this would come to £400,000, which would come to 6% a year after the effects of inflation are removed. A significant difference over a long time. It's easy to listen to this and think it's a bit too complicated, but if you just log into your account, you'll find it's a lot easier than you think, and it can yield some good results over the long term. You'll find an area on your pension account that will give you the option to change where you place your pension. It just takes a few clicks, and your pension provider will take care of the rest for you. A pension is something that people only look at twice in their life. Once when it's set up, the second time is when they want to retire. If you want to retire more comfortably and feel more secure about your finances, I would at least just log into your pension account and see how much you have. If you've had a few different jobs in your career, then you probably have a few different pension pots. A good way to maximize returns is to combine these pension pots together. It's also a good way of keeping track of how much pension you actually have. And one final thing, if you're unsure, please contact a pension advisor or get in contact with your pension provider. They'll be able to give you some more help. I have linked the Nest quarterly report in the description below, and also some other information that I used to bring this video to you today.